On the agenda tonight, we're going back to 2021. We're going to be taking a look at Carrie Underwood, and she's going to be performing Oh Holy Night. Hello, Phil here from Wings of Pegasus, and welcome to another analysis video. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. So this particular request came through with the question, has pitch correction been used in this performance? So I've isolated the vocal, run it through the pitch monitoring software so that we can see what's going on. And I know that people who have been watching this channel for any length of time will be thinking, well, if it's from 2021, then it more than likely has been pitch corrected. But giving nothing away, we will jump into it and see what is going on. So, and let's see how Carrie gets on.
Oh, holy night, the stars are brightly shining. It is the night of our dear Savior's birth. Long lay the world in sin and error pining, till he appeared and the soul felt its worth.
So I'm just going to jump in here because, full disclosure, when the person asked me to do a video on this particular performance, I hadn't isolated the vocal, hadn't run it through the pitch monitoring software, and I responded to the person saying, yes, it has been pitch corrected, because you don't, or I don't even need to see it to hear it, because 440 Hertz stands out like a sore thumb. But especially in this case, because this is, I think, probably the worst use of pitch correction that we've had in any analysis video, which is saying something, because it has been pitch corrected to the point of, what would have been auto-tune. And this is the irony, really. The auto-tune has been phased out because it sounded too mechanical, because it did this. It stuck somebody's voice onto a line, which means that there's no variation. And pitch correction was then used because it means at least you can grab the vocal and move it close to a line, but not stick it to a line. So you can kind of get away with it a bit more. But this hasn't been gotten away with at all, because they've done with pitch correction what everyone's trying to avoid doing with auto-tune, and why people now don't use auto-tune. Because pitch correction is a manual process. So somebody's manually done this, that they've stuck it this exactly to the line. But have a listen to it in slow motion as well. So you can hear how it's in slow motion, no longer a human voice. And another thing that I'm starting to notice with heavy pitch correction is that the words sound mechanical because of the enunciation doesn't have any pitch to it. And what happens when you make a different shape with your mouth, when you say another word, that word affects pitch. It's something that it can't help but happen, because you are making different shapes with your mouth, and your vocal cords do change ever so slightly with what you're saying. And this is why when you're learning to sing, you learn to sing with different vowels and different vowel shapes, different modifications of vowels, and some consonants are harder to sing than others. And when I say that they're harder to sing, they're harder to keep on pitch. So here we have long lay, and even me doing this, there will be, and you'll be able to hear the variations in just going long, in the L sound. That is changing pitch. And because it's changing pitch, it stands out when you're listening to a singer, because not only do you have another consonant or another word, but that word has had an ever so slight change in pitch within it so that you can make it out even more clearly. But when you're talking about pitch correction, now all of the long that doesn't happen anymore.
Long lay.
And this is why when I'm saying about this being pitch corrected, and some people say, oh, well, maybe she's just really good at hitting notes and can do it this accurately. Yet nobody in the world can do this unless it's been manipulated. And we know because we've looked at singers who have got really close, and when we zoom in, there may be 1 sense or 2 cents sharp or flat. It's never stuck to a line like this is. So this is the thing, that when you listen to this, obviously slowed down, it sounds mechanical, but it sounds mechanical because the consonants have lost their pitch variation that happens naturally in every singer ever. And by the way, there is a link to this original video if you want to watch it the whole way through without me interrupting it and without the vocal lines on screen, all that kind of stuff. So you can click on that link. But as we work our way through, the other thing is that Carrie has this unique vibrato in that it is slow, and I mean, it doesn't cover a huge amount of pitch, but it's significant enough to be quite dramatic because we're going equally above the note and below the note. And this is another thing that pitch correction has done. Because it's been dragged directly over the D sharp 4, it means that the vibrato is going perfectly above and below. But the pitch wouldn't have been this accurate all the time in this performance, I guarantee you that. I would have loved to have heard what the actual vocal sounded like, because this isn't the actual vocal that we're listening to, because this is the pitch corrected vocal. It's after it's been moved to all of these lines and the processing has happened and the computer's had its way with it. But listen to the vibrato.
Pining till he appeared, and the soul felt its worth.
And I mean, moving away from pitch correction just for a second, she's got this airy sound to her voice with that vibrato, but again, it's been moved directly over this line. But with that vibrato, she is actually speeding it up and slowing it down. So it shows that she has control of it. And this is something that actually very few singers have the ability to do, to slow down vibrato and speed up vibrato, because a lot of singers just have a natural vibrato and it just happens at the speed that it happens. And this is mainly why, as singers age, because they have never been able to control their vibrato, if it starts to get a little bit more dramatic, going and it starts covering lots of pitch and maybe speeds up, because they've never been able to control it, that happens to their voice as they age. And you do find it quite a lot with singers who have had quite a controlled vibrato but have covered quite a lot of pitch. It can then go a little bit crazier as they age. But again, it's not something that they've ever controlled. It's just natural. So that is now their natural vibrato, just at a later stage in their career. But let's listen on to this.
A thrill of hope, the weary world.
I mean, this is the problem here, that F4, whenever there's a held note. For this particular performance, I don't know why, but it has been absolutely stuck to the lines. And just to point out that everybody in the background, and you might see instrumentalists playing, they're hearing the live vocal, the actual vocal, but we're not hearing that. We're just hearing the result of the processing of pitch correction.
World rejoices, for yonder breaks a new and glorious morn.
The problem is that sometimes this kind of thing, and I mean, I will take down the accompaniment just in case you guys can't really spot it, but listen to this. It sounds so mechanical in the placing of the note, because, like I said, any held note is just going to be stuck on this line.
And glorious morn.
I mean, with that, you literally cannot see the line of 440 hertz because it is so on top of it. Let me zoom in. And I'm zooming in, by the way, the furthest I can zoom. So this is as big as we can make it to see if there's just 1 sense, and there's 100 cents between one note and the next note. So if you're 1 cent sharp or 2 cents sharp or flat or even 5 cents, you're not really going to notice that. When you start talking about being sharp and flat by 5 cents or 8 cents or 10 cents, again, it's only 10 cents. You've got to go another 90 cents to get to that next note. So the other note is miles away. That 10 cents would still register as the right note, but it would have expression. But what we've got here is literally 0. So this is what's, if you played a piano and you pressed the note down, you would get this. An electric piano. I mean, pianos can be tuned and can go out of tune. So when you're playing an electric piano, it is perfect to 440 hertz all the time. Human voices aren't. That's why we know it's a human voice. But now a human voice is a piano. So when we're looking at this particular line here, like I said, this is the furthest, as that note is held, look at how perfect over that line it is. It obviously sounds mechanical. I'm trying to place... It is like an error or something. That is the sound, like when something's gone wrong and it just holds that note for a long time, like on a computer, obviously. It's going to sound exactly the same. But let's listen on.
On your knees.
And by the way, I'm not saying that Carrie Underwood can't sing. I'm saying that this is a performance that she's done, and she has sung it live somewhere on a hard drive. There is this vocal before processing, before pitch correcting. So the natural vocal does exist somewhere, but this isn't it. This is the vocal that has been manipulated for general release so that it sounds perfect. But the problem with sounding perfect is that it sounds imperfect because it is too perfect, and music is imperfect. So it stands out because it's the opposite of what music is. That's really the problem that we've got here.
Oh,
And like I said, any note that's held for any length of time will be squashed, in this case to the A sharp 4. I mean, it's amazing to see how badly this has been done, that they haven't allowed any of Carrie's voice to come through, that original pitch that she has with her voice, like the expression that's in there.
the angel voices.
It is time after time after time after time.
Oh no!
And that, you almost couldn't see it because it is so on the line at the top of the graph. It looks like it's just the continuation of these lines going up.
Divine all night.
The other thing is that it's been done even with the notes withheld vibrato, like so over the line, so that it's almost like somebody's approached this vocal and thought, right, this is what needs to happen. If Carrie is singing a G sharp 4 and she holds the note, it has to be on the G sharp 4 at 440 hertz tuning, equal temperament. Her vibrato has to go exactly half above and exactly half below. And that's what we're going to do for this whole performance. So any note, no matter where it's held, no matter how much vibrato is on it, we're going to make sure it's always directly over the line, half above, half below. That's not how the human voice works, and I guarantee you that is not how Carrie sings.
When Christ was born, oh night divine.
Let's just have a listen to that again. We've got another alarm coming, I think. There we go.
Oh night,
I mean, because it is pitch correction, and we know it's pitch correction because of this vibrato, it has been allowed to drift ever so slightly, very occasionally. But I'd say that 90%, 95% of these vibratoed, or the held notes with vibrato, they have been manipulated as well. So she's not even been allowed to sing that.
Sweet hymns of joy in grateful chorus raise we, let all within us.
I mean, the problem is that I'm already anticipating the that sound of the note that I know is coming up, and I already know what it's going to sound like. I mean, that is the problem with a performance that has been heavily pitch corrected, is that you don't need to hear the performance to know what it's going to sound like vocally.
Praise his holy name. Christ is the Lord.
And we might have had one note that's been allowed to go through without being pitch corrected. Okay, so you can see how this note here has not been squashed to the line. So this makes me think that the other times that Carrie sang this note, she was maybe a bit flatter than this. So they thought, oh, we're going to have to move that rather than just allowing it to be flat. Maybe they just thought that this was a little bit more acceptable. But, I mean, that still sounded... I mean, that sounds fine. Again, it starts to raise the question of, so why has the rest of the performance been so heavily pitch corrected? Is it because Carrie kept missing the note, and therefore people would say, oh, well, that means that she can't hit pitch accurately? And that's the problem, is that it then starts a debate as to, if this one's been allowed through, why have the other ones not been? The only conclusion you can come to is that the other ones weren't this close. So that's always going to be the problem, but it's a problem that people and record labels bring on themselves, because now people are going to question this performance and say, well, she obviously needed to use it that much because she couldn't hit any of the notes. But I assure you that, knowing her voice without pitch correction, it wouldn't have been the case. This is just somebody wanting to get or make the performance better to their ears. More often than not, the producers, the people looking at singers' performances and pitch correcting them, they're not top level singers themselves. They don't know how the voice works. All they know is what a keyboard sounds like, and they listen to a vocalist and they listen to a keyboard and go, oh, hang on, that's different. They can't decipher the expression in the voice. All they can see is a finite value, and they go, oh, hang on, right, so I need to move that to where this key is. And that's what's happening. But we got one note there.
Christ is the Lord. Their name
And now we're back to pitch correction.
forever praise we. No end.
And again, this has disappeared into the graph.
All night divine, Noel.
I'll tell you the other massive issue that this causes is that singers are now, through released videos like this, they are setting themselves a standard that is impossible to match. So if you went to watch this being performed live with no pitch correction and no auto-tune, the singer literally can't sing it like this. So every single live performance you go to watch will not be this accurate. Ironically, I think that when you go and watch a live performance of a great vocalist like Carrie, then you will think the live version is better. But why do you think it's better? It's because it's got all the expression in there. It is a human voice and it won't sound mechanical like this. So, I mean, it begs the question, well, why use pitch correction in the first place if you can release a recording that sounds better than, after pitch correction has been used? And it's the whole argument, I've done lots of videos and mentioned this in the past, about why older singers sound better than newer singers. And it's not just, obviously sounding better is subjective, but there's a huge audience that believe that, and there are even younger people and the younger generation who like listening to the older singers, and they might not necessarily appreciate that those older singers don't have pitch correction on their voices. So this is why it sounds better. It's more human, it's more relatable, it's easier to connect to, because it's an unfiltered human voice. Whereas this is not only filtered, it's literally changed. And it might be the case that you like the sound of this, that you like this performance, and it might be on your Christmas playlist, in which case it's absolutely fine. There are pitch-corrected songs or pitch-corrected vocals from songs that people like the sound of, and it doesn't grate their ear, like it does with mine, being able to hear 440 hertz as soon as it kicks in. So if you like it, then you can listen to it. I'm not saying, oh, you now mustn't like this song because it uses pitch correction. I'm analysing. This is an analysis video with a very specific request that's been sent to me and a question to be answered. So that's what I'm doing in this video. And yeah, if you like it, great. Have a listen to it. If you're one of these people that starts to see somebody's voice in a different light, knowing that it's pitch corrected and that they haven't hit the notes themselves, then again, that's subjective. That's up to you, and whether you just want to listen to singers that you know are actually hitting notes, and whether you want to listen to singers that you don't mind that it's been pitch corrected, again, it's all subjective. It's up to you. But this is an analysis video, so we are going to analyse things objectively. Anyway, thank you guys for requesting this particular video for me to take a look at, and keep those suggestions and requests coming in the comment section below. As always, let me know what you guys think, and if you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys at the next one. Rock!